I'd heard about the place from whispers around the local pubs, a derelict church, they said, standing alone in a remote field. Worshippers of the dark arts, they'd say, their eyes shifting nervously. Satanic rituals, unimaginable atrocities. The rumors hooked me like bait on a fisherman's line. As a journalist looking for my next big scoop, I saw the potential. I thought I could infiltrate one of their gatherings, expose them, and catapult my career into the stratosphere. My skin was already tingling with anticipation and dread when I parked my car under the cover of thick trees. Darkness enveloped the surroundings as I made my way through the field, guided only by the faint glow of my flashlight. The church loomed ahead, a decaying monolith shrouded in a suffocating aura of dread. Inside, I found the rumors had understated the reality. The church was a sanctuary desecrated, adorned in blasphemous imagery that seared my eyes. Symbols etched onto the floor formed a pentagram, its lines colored in a hue that could only be dried blood. The altar was a harrowing sight. A dismembered animal sprawled out, organs artfully arranged in a diabolic mosaic. Nearby, an open book was covered in cryptic writing, its ink glistening in a way that suggested it wasn't just ink. As I was about to turn and leave, they materialized, robed figures in crimson, their faces obscured by hoods. One of them held an athame, its blade an unsettling blend of rust and fresh blood. They moved in a sickeningly synchronized manner, forming a circle around me. Before I could think, before I could run, they chanted in a guttural ancient language, and the ground beneath me seemed to open, swallowing me into an abyss of endless black. I tumbled, my screams swallowed by the dark, until I landed with a painful jolt on a cold stone floor. I was no longer in the church. I was in a cavern lit by an unholy luminescence. At the center was an altar, and upon it lay a figure strapped down, its flesh a canvas of horrors, incisions, stitches, limbs bent and broken into unnatural angles. The body was an abomination, violated to an extent that transcended mere physical harm. It was a defilement of the human form so complete that it felt like a scream made flesh. The robed figures surrounded the altar, chanting louder, their voices reverberating off the walls of the cavern. The figure on the altar writhed, its movements spasmodic, as if every muscle, every fiber, every cell was in agony. Then one of the robed figures approached me, pulling back their hood to reveal a face that defied description, a shifting visage of twisted flesh and pulsating darkness. It held a chalice to my lips, a concoction of blood, bile, and substances I dare not contemplate. The room spun as I drank, my vision blurring into a kaleidoscope of unspeakable images. I felt myself drawn toward the altar, my limbs moving against my will. The figure reached out, its fingers like claws pulling me closer, until our flesh merged in an eruption of excruciating pain. And then I knew. I knew that this was no ordinary cult, no simple gathering of deranged individuals. This was a gateway, a portal to realms of darkness beyond human comprehension. The cultists, the sacrifices, the rituals, they were but the tip of an incomprehensible iceberg, a thin veil separating our world from endless plains of torment and suffering. I screamed, or tried to, but my voice was lost, absorbed into the cacophony of wails and chants that filled the cavern. I was no longer a journalist, no longer a spectator. I was now part of the ritual, part of the horror, my flesh and soul eternally bound to this abyss. And as the robed figures resumed their chant, I felt my consciousness fade, replaced by an all-encompassing dread. I had sought to expose the darkness, but instead, I had become one with it, a vessel for horrors beyond imagination in a realm where the screams never end.